In a time before factories and machines, our ancestors crafted strong, reliable rope using nothing but their hands and natural fibers. But how exactly did they do it? Did they use some long-lost technique or special tool to make rope without any modern tools or technology? What was their secret? It all began with plant materials like jute, hemp, flax, or even dried grasses and bark. These fibers were carefully harvested, cleaned, and left to dry under the sun until they were tough yet flexible. The process of making rope is quite intricate and requires a lot of patience. But it's also very rewarding when you see the end product. Once the fibers were ready, our ancestors would start twisting them together by hand. At first, they would roll small bundles between their palms or against their thighs, slowly forming a strong strand. You can try this yourself by taking a few fibers and twisting them together. It's harder than it looks, but it's also kind of fun. Now you might be wondering, why did they twist the strands only in one direction? Wouldn't it come undone? Well, yes it would if they just twisted the strands in one direction. That's why they used a technique called reverse twisting, after creating a few sturdy strands. They would take 2 or more strands and twist them together in the opposite direction, binding them tightly. This made the rope stronger and prevented it from unraveling. But that's not all. Our ancestors were clever enough to use simple wooden tools like rope spinners or hooks stuck in the ground to keep the fibers steady while twisting. This made the whole process easier and faster. Making rope by hand took patience, rhythm, and skill, and it was a skill that was passed down through generations. The finished ropes were used for carrying loads, building shelters, fishing, and farming. They were strong enough to support heavy loads and flexible enough to be used in tight spaces. And the best part is that it didn't require any fancy tools or equipment, just a bit of know-how and some natural materials, and you were good to go. This is an amazing testament to the resourcefulness and self-reliance of our ancestors. They didn't wait around for someone to invent a machine to make rope. Instead, they used what they had available to them and developed a technique that was not only practical, but also efficient. Even today, people still use this method to make rope. It might seem old-fashioned or even primitive, but it's a technique that has stood the test of time. Plus, it's a great way to disconnect from your phone and other distractions and focus on the task at hand. Just kidding. You can make rope while watching TV. Whether you're a history buff or just someone who appreciates a good DIY project, this video is for you. So grab some natural fibers and learn how to make rope the old-fashioned way. Might be surprised at how much fun it is. Who knows, you might even discover a new hobby. This video will cover everything from choosing the right materials to making sure your knots are secure. We'll also talk about the history of rope making and how this simple tool has impacted human civilization. So sit back, relax, and get ready to learn. But before we dive in, let's talk about why rope is so important. Rope is one of the oldest and most versatile inventions of all time. Strong, durable, and easy to make, which is why it's been used for thousands of years to transport goods, build structures, and even fight wars. From the Egyptians, who used rope to build the pyramids, to the sailors who used it to navigate the oceans, rope has been an essential tool for humans throughout history. How exactly do you choose the right materials for making rope? As I mentioned earlier, there are many types of plants that can be used to make rope, each with its own unique properties and uses. Jute is a popular choice because it's strong and flexible, but it's also relatively easy to harvest. Hemp and flax are also commonly used, as well as dried grasses and bark. The key is to choose plants that are fibrous and durable, as well as ones that are readily available in your area. Once you've chosen your plant, it's time to get to work. Harvesting the fibers is the first and most important step in making rope. The goal is to collect long, unbroken fibers that are free of any damage or defects. This can be done by hand or with the help of simple tools such as sickles or stripping tools. It's also important to choose the right time of year to harvest the fibers. For example, hemp and flax are best harvested in the late summer or early fall, when the plants are mature but not yet brittle. Once the fibers have been harvested, they need to be cleaned and prepared for use. This involves removing any dirt, leaves, or other debris that may have become entangled in the fibers during harvesting. The fibers can be cleaned by hand or with the help of a simple tool, such as a comb or brush. It's also important to remove any damaged or broken fibers at this stage, as they can weaken the rope and make it more likely to break. Once the fibers are clean and ready to use, the next step is to leave them out in the sun to dry. This helps to toughen and strengthen the fibers, making them more durable and resistant to breakage. The fibers should be dried gradually and evenly to prevent any damage or shrinkage. It's also important to protect the fibers from pests such as insects or rodents that could damage them while they're drying. The fibers are ready to be used when they're dry, flexible, and easy to work with. Depending on the type of rope being made, the fibers may also be soaked in a solution of water and lime to further strengthen and soften them. So the first step in making rope is harvesting the fibers. It's important to choose long, unbroken fibers that are free of any damage or defects. You can harvest the fibers by hand or with the help of simple tools such as sickles or stripping tools. The next step is to clean the fibers. Remove any dirt, leaves, or other debris that may have become entangled in the fibers during harvesting. You can clean the fibers by hand or with the help of a simple tool such as a comb or brush. The third step is to leave the fibers out in the sun to dry. This will help to toughen and strengthen the fibers, making them more durable and resistant to breakage. The fibers should be dried gradually and evenly to prevent any damage or shrinkage. Before we move on to the next step, let's look at some examples of plants that can be used to make rope. As I mentioned earlier, there are many types of plants that can be used to make rope, each with its own unique properties and uses. Jute is a popular choice because it's strong and flexible, but it's also relatively easy to harvest. Hemp and flax are also commonly used, as well as dried grasses and bark. The most important thing is to choose plants that are fibrous and durable, as well as ones that are readily available in your area. Now let's move on to the fourth step, which is optional, but highly recommended. Soak the fibers in a solution of water and lime to further strengthen and soften them. This step is particularly useful for ropes that will be used for heavy-duty applications. Once the fibers are clean, dried, and optionally soaked in lime, the next step is to start twisting them together to form a strand. This is the most labor-intensive part of the rope-making process and requires a lot of patience and skill. Our ancestors used simple tools like rope spinners or hooks stuck in the ground to keep the fibers steady while twisting. These tools are still used today by some rope makers to help keep the fibers aligned and prevent them from slipping. However, it is possible to make rope without these tools. Just make sure to keep the fibers steady by using your body weight or by holding them in place with your hands or feet. Start by holding one end of the fiber in each hand and twisting them together in a clockwise direction. You want to apply a bit of pressure to the fibers to make sure they're twisted tightly together. As you continue to twist the fibers, you'll start to form a strand of rope. Be sure to twist the fibers at a consistent rate to make sure the rope is even and durable. It takes a lot of practice to master the technique, but with some time and patience, you'll be able to make strong, sturdy strands of rope. The next step is to take 2 or more strands of rope and twist them together in the opposite direction. This is called reverse twisting, and it's an important step that helps to make the rope stronger and more durable. To do this, hold one end of the bundle of strands in one hand and the other end in the other hand. Twist the bundle in a counterclockwise direction until the strands are tightly bound together. Again, apply a bit of pressure to make sure the strands are twisted tightly together. You can also use a simple tool like a rope spinner to help keep the strands aligned and prevent them from slipping. Continue twisting the strands together until you've formed a rope of your desired thickness. And there you have it, rope made by hand, using the age-old techniques our ancestors relied on. While it might seem like a lost art in our modern world, dominated by machines and technology, this traditional method is not only a testament to the ingenuity of our past, but also a practical and eco-friendly way to create strong, durable rope. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more informative and entertaining content. And if you have any thoughts or suggestions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. Thanks for tuning in, and happy knot tying.